right. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why I did that, but it did. And it was annoying. It was very annoying. All right. All right, so I am going to do another one of these for Instagram, and we're going to get back to it. That's pretty cool. All right, I'm back. So come on back to YouTube. Sorry that my internet turned off for a split second. I guess I'll try to explain more inside of the video. So yeah. All right, I'm going to get this link, and then we're gonna go back to drawing and talking about everything. Everything. All right. Go back to this. Is it gonna show up? Did it turn off again? It shouldn't have. I'm like, what's going on? Hold on. I'm trying to get this link. What's going on? I don't know why this is having an issue, but I don't see why. All right, so it's live on my YouTube channel. Okay, yay, finally it pops up. All right, so let me get this up. Yeah, DJ Saws, I will explain it in a few. Give me one moment. I'm not exactly sure why I did that, but give me 1 second. Copy link. All right, so let me put that back on my Instagram. Let's try again. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I have no idea. My internet was, I guess, spotty for some reason. Like, I to be honest with you, I have no idea why it did that at all. I just turned off randomly. I didn't touch anything. But there you go, guys. Spectrum sucks, so whatever. But yeah, DJ Sauls, that's what happened. I just turned off randomly. Like, I'm not sure exactly why it did that, but it did, and it's just what happened. But it is okay. We are going to keep on moving forward, and I'm going to draw some more of these pages. Another reason why it took so long is because I had to reset up everything in my OBS, which was crazy. Like, so if there's, my head, for instance, a little bit smaller, I figured I might as well make that smaller while I can right now. So, but yeah, Wi-Fi spotted with me too earlier while I was using YouTube. Yeah, man. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's just Spectrum, like I said. That's what I'm chalking it up to. I've had that happen every now and then, but it rarely happens during a live, so that kind of sucked. But whatever. We're gonna be doing this until it happens again, or until I am finished with these pages. But getting to your question, I was gonna ask you about summer manga deadline and tips. So when it comes to the deadline, everybody's deadline differs. Depending on what issue you're going to be in, or depending on whether or not we're going to have only one issue or two issues, but that all will be in like an email to you if you get past the first thing, which is, doing the survey and, us looking at your stuff and looking at everybody else and, determining exactly who we want to, showcase essentially. So, all I can really say is try to think of a story that is fun, that is, easy enough to tell in however many pages, that has an ending. Whether this comic is, or this manga is going to be, a horror manga or a sports manga or gag manga or action or, whatever the case may be, what you want it to be is entertaining. Some pieces of advice that I can give you. I know that Fred, the vision for Saturday AM is to essentially, utilize the same type of style that most traditional manga have, but doing it in a way that's authentic to that person and a different culture, not necessarily just Japan. So let's say, I'm not sure, what, this is a great example. I have a story in mind. I talked about this obviously a while ago. I'm not sure if I brought this particular thing up in a previous live, but there is a comic that I have an idea called Life Agents, and essentially, this could be, used for, various different, like storylines. And one particular storyline that I have in my head is either going to be set in Savannah or in New Orleans. And the reason why I'm specifying those particular cities is because those particular cities would have, like, some type of, voodoo or ghost stories or anything like that. And if I were to do that story, I would do research in those cities. Like, I lived in both of those cities, so I know the most of it. But I mean, I would do more research to find out, okay, this is what this particular story is about. How do I translate that into a entertaining type of, storyline? How do I do that? And, being able to do that is a very interesting idea. And I think that Saturday AM likes ideas like that. For instance, we have the first Bohemian, superhero. Obviously in Bohemia, there's no superheroes flying around, but I mean, the fact that that's like an idea that's never been tried before in a culture that not a lot of people know about, you can bring so much more to the conversation by saying, hey, this is, maybe some food, a food choice that, is very popular in this, particular culture. Or maybe this is, the types of clothing that people wear. Like, I mean, you can bring certain elements from different cultures and then still present them in a way that has a style that is closely resembling, manga. And like, that's, I think, what the entire idea is when it comes to creating a story for Saturday AM. Now, obviously, that's not like an end all be all. It's not exactly what, we demand of everybody. But I mean, that is something that I think has more of a chance to stand out and more of a chance to be, more marketable in a sense. There's something that you can actually like kind of ground yourself to. And if like there was something that was going on in that particular part of the culture, like, God forbid anything bad happened like this, but let's just say that there was like a giant earthquake in, that area with the Bohemian. Like, I mean, not as a way to like, profit off of any of their, horrible hardship. But I mean, you could definitely bring more attention to it by saying, hey, I have this superhero that's, Bohemian, woman, let me draw her so that way I can bring more attention to this. And, hopefully we can raise money if that's the case for that particular, situation. If something like that were to happen. Or let's say, there's a giant, celebration, Diwali, for instance. That's a celebration that Indian culture, celebrates. I believe it's every year, but it might be every other year. To be honest with you, I haven't been to a Diwali celebration in a long time. And when I went, it was awesome. It was during college. That'll be another stream another day. But basically, massively multiplayer World of Ghosts. The main character is the first American Indian born, manga character. And because of that, like, it's in a unique unique position to like celebrate that real life, celebration. I know several times that Oscar, the artist of Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts, he's drawn, a lot of those characters in the Diwali garb, and has celebrated it in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's just a post to say, "Hey, we see you," or hey, this is just a really awesome thing that I can have my characters do as well. And to be honest with you, I think that that's a really awesome like thing that you can bring to your story. And Japan does this all the time, only it's through Japanese culture. So like case in point, you can have, or I'm sure you've seen the summer festivals where there's, people, drinking or not drinking, eating the watermelon popsicles, or, they all have kimonos on. They're looking at fireworks. Usually you'll see this in some type of slice of life type of comic, but I mean, you see it a lot. And my entire point is that, for everybody that's not living in Japan, like that's such a magical thing to like look at. And if you look at enough manga, you'll see it in so many different manga. Like it's insane. Like another great example is Dan, for instance. The first episode, they go to that tunnel where you see that old lady that's running. That's a horror story in Japan. Like, and you can see that particular story in several different medium. Like Mob Psycho 100 did it. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure did it. Excuse me. They obviously bring their own interpretation to it, and either expand on it or stick really closely to that particular story. But basically, all in all, I mean, it's bringing an idea that maybe a lot of people around the world haven't necessarily like seen or heard about. And I think that that's a really interesting way to create stories. So my advice to you is, if you really want to stand out and potentially like get with us in some way, like obviously have an awesome original story, but bring a little bit of your own culture into it. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything super crazy. Like, I mean, who knows exactly where you are in the world, but I mean, wherever you are, you can bring something from that particular area into your story. A slice of life in some way, shape, or form. If you're going to do a slice of life, you could, show a favorite restaurant that is very popular inside of your area. Or, I was talking to one of the people that I mentor inside of Patreon, and I was telling him that, I mean, if, you lived in Mexico, for instance, Day of the Dead, that's a, very, very popular, well-known celebration around the world. And if you had a story that was like not even based off of anything from the Day of the Dead, but the Day of the Dead was just happening during that time, that's a little bit of a culture, like it's a lot of material that you can add to your story to make it feel a little more authentic, essentially. So using the example that I had with New Orleans or Savannah, in Savannah, what's it called? St. Patty's Day. That's a really popular, festival, essentially, like a very popular holiday inside of Savannah. But Mardi Gras is very popular inside of New Orleans. St. Patty's Day is basically Mardi Gras inside of Savannah. So, like, if I was going to do something with that story, I probably would have a chapter where, like, you got to see them deal with the floats and, the drunk people and, like, everything that happens during those times, whilst also telling the story that I wanted to tell. So I just, to be honest with you, I think it's a really interesting way to tell a story. I see another question. It says, I had an idea for a story about a boy from the Bronx that teams up with a group of reptiles that defends the galaxy from space pirates. I think that sounds hilariously awesome. Like, you should definitely do something like that if that's what you want to go for. I think that you can make any story very interesting. I would also try to think about, like, what's the best way to tell that story. Hold on. Let me see if I can turn this down. I think it's too loud. Hello. Okay. I think that's a little better. I was going into the red, so sorry, guys. Yeah, I think that it kind of just depends on like what exactly like you're trying to like get at. And the reason why I was bringing up the genre is because there's a lot of people that are gonna draw action manga. Some people are gonna draw adventure manga. Some people are gonna draw gag manga, horror manga. Maybe it's a romance, or a slice of life. I mean, there's several different genres, and I think most of the time I see some type of action flick, and that's not bad. Obviously, I mean, you could do that, but my point in bringing this up is that because a lot of people do that, it doesn't necessarily stand out as much. So, Ellis, hey Ellis, what's up, man? Ellis is the GOAT. What's up, dude? Ellis, so I knew this guy a long time ago. We used to work together. I haven't talked to you in forever, man. Things have been very, very busy. Hey, man, culture does add the feeling of a living, breathing world that you are stepping into a place that lives without you but invites you in. Yes, 100%. And that's what I mean. In Japan, they do that all the time with several different, different stories. Like, and I think that, it's a lot of people like that. Being able to experience something that you've never actually gotten a chance to experience. So not only that, but also like, let's say, I used to live in Savannah, and if I was going to do that story and it was based in Savannah, I mean, I instantly have a fan base that I could at least appeal to. Maybe it's not like a hardcore fan base. Maybe it will become a hardcore fan base. I don't know. But I mean, the mere fact that I'm talking about an area that a lot of people already know, as well as also live in and all that stuff. Like, I can talk about all the squares and how when I first moved there, like, I was confused out of my mind. I didn't know exactly where I was. But I also realized that because if you know only one street, you can get anywhere. Like, it made it very simple to go anywhere. Like, so I can talk about that. And like, these are things that, might not be as commonly known to people that, don't live there. So like, again, I think that having culture inside of your story, it definitely can bring more of a like feeling of authenticity, a feeling of reality, just a little nod to it. Like, think about Spider-Man. Spider-Man's based in New York. I mean, it's obviously fiction, but I mean, the mere fact that you can see, like, all these buildings and you might recognize some, and on top of all of that, like, let's say you're drawing it yourself, you instantly have reference. You don't have to just make up backgrounds. Like, it's so much more difficult to, like, just make up, completely functional city. Like, I mean, you could do it, obviously, but it's kind of difficult. Take my word for it. I've created several different cities inside of Hammer, and, sometimes I'm just kicking myself because I'm like, I gotta make this work, and I gotta draw it like this, and all this other stuff. So, I mean, yeah, it's just really just that's definitely something that I think would stand out. And if you pick a genre that isn't necessarily just action, but like, let's say it's horror, you're gonna do a horror, or you're gonna do a gag manga. I mean, you can still have action in some of these stories, but like, you can just make it seem even more interesting and even more appealing to the judges that are going to be giving you a chance. And like I said, if the judges see 100, different action manga, but one thriller or one, mind-boggling, debate type of comic, or, whatever, like, or detective comic, like, I mean, I really think that would stand out so much more and give you such a better shot of, actually getting a chance to be with us. So, some stuff like that I would keep in mind, if you're going to do Summer of Manga. So, yeah. Hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully that also gave a little bit more context. Back to Ellis, man. I hope everything's going well, man. Things have been super busy, super crazy recently. I am a dad now. I have a 6-month-old, which is pretty awesome. Crazy, but, awesome. He turned 6 months yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, What else is going on? I'm obviously working on the Rick and Morty project. I'm also, I've been, thinking about Hammer and like obviously the next volume, but the volume after that, like the next 2 volumes are going to be like so good. Like I cannot wait to actually draw them. I'm talking to everybody, not just Ellis right now, but I mean, everybody that's watching this, the next 2 volumes of Hammer are going to be so good. Like I cannot wait to actually get a chance to draw them. They're going to be very, very awesome. But I'm thinking about the last 3 volumes as well, because to be honest with you, I kind of want this entire story of volumes, and I don't think that's too much. I think it's just about right. Ultimately, I wanted it to only be 8 volumes at first, but things happened, and I didn't really know how to plan it as well as I do now. So like that's the reason why I'm trying to just make sure that I can stick to 10 volumes, and the way I have it in my head right now, I think it's going to be really interesting. Very, very cool. So right now I have an idea that what I want for volume 8, 9, and 10. And it's probably going to be that regardless, but I'm just trying to like make it as interesting as volume 6 and volume 7. But yeah, I can't wait for, those volumes. They're going to be really, really cool. Hopefully, after I'm done with the Rick and Morty project, I'm also still working on another project as well. I can't really specify what that is because NDAs and stuff, but it's for musicians, so I'm really excited about that. Hopefully that'll be really, really cool. And after I'm done with all this, hopefully I can do some more social media stuff. I'm trying to do a lot of stuff so that way I can get into a good position where I can just focus on more art and get more stuff out there. So Ellis, congrats on the kid, man. I love to hear it. Look forward to more Hammer. 10 volumes is a great size. That isn't daunting to anyone curious about the series. Yeah, man, I agree. To be honest with you, I really think that one of the best things that you can do as a modern creator is to, like, if you do have a series, it shouldn't be long. I mean, it should be fairly, like, not small, but like it should be, first off, it should be interesting. But secondly, it definitely shouldn't be, something that like spans, several hundred books or, whatever. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love One Piece. I loved, Naruto, Bleach, all that, and there's several different manga out there still that are like, really, really long. Like, for instance, My Hero Academia, I know ended recently, but that has, if I had to guess, I don't know, 40 to 50 books. Like, I mean, I'm not really sure exactly how long, but my point in saying that is nowadays the attention span is so much smaller than what it used to be. So I don't think, not only that, but also everybody's poor. So, and no one has that much space. So, I mean, if you have only 3 books or only 1 book, as long as it's interesting and it feels good, like, I mean, it makes you feel good to read it and, enjoy it and all that, like, then that's all that really, really matters. And, that's why after I'm done with Hammer, I mean, if I do another series that's long, it'll be simply because it's so popular that people want more and more and more. And my goal is to create a story that can be told 1 volume at a time. So, like, this... I do have a story kind of like this, but it's not the, I'm just going to use this as an example, but Captain Underpants and Dogman, like those are obviously kid books, but each one of them is in and of itself, like on its own. Like it's not necessarily, like it is a series, but it isn't a series. Like you don't need to read all of them to know what's happening in the one book, or at least I'm pretty sure that's how it's set up. Like I haven't read... Admittedly, I've not read Dogman or Captain Underpants, but I mean, I know that, as far as I understand it, like they're all like, these are the characters. This is the premise of the type of story that you're going to be reading, and this is the adventure of that one story. So like that's what it seems like, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I haven't read it, so I can't definitively say. But, yeah, poor bit is so real. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But yeah, I really think that, having a one idea, like think of it as a movie. Like think about all the movies that came out in the 80s. Terminator. That was very popular, so they put out Terminator 2. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like meant to be like a series that kept on going. I haven't watched it in a long time, so maybe they did do a nod to a sequel or something like that. But I mean, as far as I understand it, it was so popular that they were like, we gotta do another one. Let's do this. And then it, became like this larger franchise. Same thing with like Indiana Jones. Like, Indiana Jones, like every single movie that you see is like just a different adventure that he's on. Like, all you need to know is that, hey, this is Indiana Jones and he's going off of, like this long adventure. Like, you should, check him out and stuff. Like, he's this professor that like does, that goes into the field and he has these wild adventures. He meets like this pretty woman. He goes on an adventure with her, and then like he defeats the bad guy, and voila, there you go. Like that's all you need to know. So all of that to say is the next story that I do, I have a few in my head. One of them is like it's the Nazarite versus the Mafia. Like I can't wait to draw that. I think that's gonna be really fun. I also have an idea that's like Life Agent. I have another one that's My Mom's the Chosen One. I think that'd be really cool. I have a bunch of them, and I think that it would be really, really interesting to do them all at some point in time. But yeah, all in all, I think that having a story that is able to be ended very quickly is the best idea. So, especially because again, like you don't know whether or not it's going to be popular, and if it's not popular, then like you're just going to be drawing like perpetually and nothing's going to happen. Either A, you're going to get canceled before you get a chance to finish the story that you want to do, or B, it won't get popular until you're, passed away and, somebody rediscovers it. So, which unfortunately happens too often. So, anthology-based storytelling. Yeah, man. I agree. I think that, having a story that doesn't necessarily need to be, like you need volume 1 through 4 in order to understand volume 5. Like that's, I think, in my opinion, where I went wrong. I am now reworking the idea of all of the books that I'm doing, for Hammer especially. Like this is the reason why 8, 9, and 10 I'm still reworking in my head. But volume 6 and 7 are standalone and yet also still connected. So you don't need to read any of the other ones to understand what's going on in volume 6 and also in volume 7. But if you do, it like will obviously fill in more of the context. So like I'm trying to keep that same mindset for volume 8, 9, and 10 as well. And that's like the issue that I'm coming across because it's the finale. So like how do I do a finale that's standalone? Like that's the difficult part. So like right now I'm kind of gearing towards volume 9 and 10 being like a hardcore, this is leading into it sequel type thing. Volume 8 will probably have a little bit of that as well, but I'm still like reworking it so that way I can make sure that at the end of the day it's still just interesting and entertaining. So all right, so it's currently 4:17. I did a little bit before this, I was, in case you guys are coming back and like you didn't realize, or maybe you're rewatching this in the future, at some point there was some type of internet glitch, and it like threw off like my entire stream. And at that time I was streaming for about 30 minutes. And now I think I have streamed for an additional 30 minutes. So it's been about roughly an hour. So I'm probably going to be getting off soon, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in before I get off. After I'm done drawing this person, I'm going to probably log off, and I might do another live, most likely next week. I mean, I don't think I could do it tomorrow because I have a meeting, and then I also have to get ready for work, which is, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I work pretty much all day those days. So, but if you guys have any other questions about Saturday AM, Summer of Manga, drawing comics, manga, anything like that, first off, you could probably find it inside of my ebook. So, definitely go check that out. It's the, compendium. It's like $10. You get all of the ebooks that I created. inside of there, as well as also like a $5 coupon to the courses that I have in there. So, you guys can check that out. The link is in the description box below. I also have a, what's it called? A lot of my old comics in there, Chicken Fight being one of them. I have a bunch of different one-shots that I created in the past. That's also on my Gumroad. So, definitely go check it out if you're interested in not only supporting me a little bit, but also, just checking out my old work. I mean, it's pretty cool. All right. So I might end this up a little bit sooner because I had some food right before I got on, and my stomach is bubbling. I'm going to go to the restroom. So I'm probably going to leave now. But thank you again, everybody that, tuned in. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this back, please drop a like and, comment down below what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would like to see more of. I said a while ago that I might do what's it called? Reactions at some capacity in the future when I do these lives. So, we might all be watching videos when I do this. And hopefully I can make these a lot longer in the future. But, at the moment, I'm just kind of trying to do as best as I can. Obviously, I have a son now. And I also, have a lot of work to do. I got to finish up all of these Rick and Morty pages before the deadline, which is fast approaching. So, yeah. But I think that's it. So I'm going to ink this, and then I'll say goodbye. Hold on. All right. There you go. Boom. Hold on. All right. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. I'm going to finish this up later. But thank you again for, stopping by. I really appreciate it. You guys rock so much. Definitely drop a like and comment down below, all that stuff. And I'll see you later. Deuces.